Yes.
We're here with the maker of the makers. The audience can't believe it.
Yeah.
We actually got to see what you looked like last week because we watched your where you kind of explained everything. We usually don't get to know what our guest is going to look like.
True. Yeah. Telling me. Yeah.
So, what's your name?
Yeah, I don't think we know.
Yeah, my name is Pablo Latorre. So,
we did. Yes.
Yeah. I'm from Peru. I was born in Lima, capital. But then I've traveled. My parents are expats, so I've lived in different places. And then currently I'm living in the UK. So I'm based in.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, it's been a year, and it's great. Weather's kind of bad, but not used to that. But
you're inside all the time, a lot of the time now, anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we've.
Well, we've been loving taking a look at your project over the last couple of weeks. I think we've taken a look at it on the news a couple of times, and what a unique thing.
It's like it's from a different dimension. It's like. Oh man, it just brings to your imagination to life to look at it, and even just trying to figure out how you did it in the beginning was a journey in imagination for me.
Really like seeing that video of the actual cutting out and constructing that you did. That was awesome. Because it kind of proves that it's real. Because
yeah, totally.
It could be fully digitally created, I guess, but it's really nice that it's a physical creation. Oh, here we go. Now we're gonna get some real proof.
Oh, real proof right there.
Hang on, we got the lag. Oh, there it is.
So this one was
to lag because this is so
beautiful.
It's from another dimension.
It's difficult because a lot of the reflection kind of changes the color of things, but essentially, So there are a combination of different. Sort of artistic practices, I guess. I initially made the maker and everything else by hand. So, I do it all with basically just scissors, color paper, and then this hot glue gun.
I was assuming you were like laser cutting the chipboard or something.
Essentially, I made the maker, the first one. I originally made them by hand, but then it takes forever. So what I did was to make this version, I just laser cut him. Mm-hmm. But I normally can do it with hand as well. It's just that it will take me tons of hours,
Even with laser cut, that stuff takes a long time to get
all the pieces within the maker. I originally I did a lot of trial and error by hand, right? Mm-hmm. So these are my designs from when I was a little kid. So this maker has been evolving through time, and then I think last year or 2 years ago, it sort of took its last form. And then ever since, I started and so on, I wanted to make a project related to them. But
I've been hearing like a few of our guests recently have talked about how what they're bringing to the community is their, childhood or teenage project. Mm-hmm. And I think that really kind of exemplifies Cardano, just like really bringing out your true self and something close to your heart. And I think that's what everybody here really wants to see. And I would love to hear about how old you were when this was incepted in your brain and kind of if you remember what you were thinking then.
Well, yeah, this project, this one specifically, right? The project Makers, I always been trying to create sort of been thinking about making an NFT project since mid last year. So sort of evolving bit by bit, trying to figure out, sort of glue the pieces together. But the character himself, the first version was when I was 8 years old. So he's got a long history.
Wow. Cool. Does he have a secret name?
Oh no, that's the thing. I've always. It's weird. I've made so many things. since I was a kid, I've always been making things with cardboard with my hands, since I was 6. But I never named a single thing.
That's awesome.
Really? That's interesting.
That's honestly a very good habit to be in. Sometimes a name can just oversimplify things. So I think that's cool.
But yeah,
love to see that making of. Very cool stuff. So you've been doing cardboard art since you were young. Have you done any other sort of artistic endeavors out there?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I guess what I like to call my art right now is just architecture. So this project itself, it is right now, it is craft in a sense. These characters that I'm creating, but the characters actually are part of the whole idea, which is more about creating architecture. I mean, this is why I sort of call them the makers. Because they create things. That's what they used to do when I was a kid. I used to play with them as characters, but I would create all sorts of cities, castles, towns, all kinds of things. Because as a kid, I was making things. And then as I grew up, my craft sort of changed from this creative, imaginative world of a little kid into something more concrete and real, like architecture, right? My whole background is in architecture. And then now, sort of, I took a little detour from my architecture world into, again, my childhood world to create these characters.
Yeah.
To give a face to the project rather than just be buildings, right?
Mm-hmm.
So some characters where people could sort of connect with them and be, in a sense, the founders. And then from this little community of the holders of the makers, alongside the makers, go around and create architecture projects, right? That's sort of the lore behind them.
That's so really
cool. That's like your
two of my passions, basically.
Yeah.
So Tyler, of course, comes from an architectural background as well. And I just want to throw you guys in the same room and see what happened, to be honest.
Yeah, honestly, that'd be awesome.
That's so cool, man. Dang. Yeah.
Oh no, sorry, go on.
What are your thoughts?
Oh no, I love these. I've been loving them every time we talk about them. I know you said another. I know you were just kind of touching on it, but like, I guess the next part of this is like you guys are with the community going to figure out concept architecture projects to make, or
it's a bit hard to understand because it's not a common thing in the NFT space.
I would say so.
I mean, nothing's common.
I hope there's more.
Well,
but yes, essentially the idea is that we look for a site in a real life location, so a real site, where in a sense this online community of the makers are able to work with that local community or local organization that knows the area, and with them choose a site that the community itself in that location thinks is appropriate for creating something that they feel they need. If the community says, oh, I don't know, if it's a poor community from, one of my cities in my home country, which there are tons, and they need, let's say, we have a really bad school for kids and, everything is sort of falling apart. We need help with that. So then essentially we'll just be like, okay, let's do it, working with them and creating a design, but in concept. Because, of course, this is all virtual, right? Because the thing about architecture is that when you design architecture nowadays, there's always a digital copy of it. Because whatever you design is not just in paper, but it's also, in your 3D programs, in AutoCAD and all that stuff. So essentially, you already have the NFT, the digital content of the building. So what I was thinking is to combine these two sort of aspects, right? The online community within Cardano, within blockchain, and the real life communities through architectural design, because that is a digital content essentially. So yeah, I mean, there's a whole framework that I sort of wrote down in our Discord as well. that lays down how exactly we go about doing it, because it is quite complicated. You got a lot of different architecture design process in itself is so complicated, and then
Yeah.
combining that with an online community and a real life community, that's that adds another layer of complexity. But essentially, the first step is to spread the word, essentially, right, through contacts that I have, contacts that the community have, and find. Essentially, we need to find a local community or organization that is willing to work with us. That is sort of the first step, because we can't. I mean, if we just choose a site out of nowhere,
Yeah.
So the
if
goal
we
of
just
this,
choose a site, and then
Yeah.
we try to design something, it's really hard to really know what they need.
So this is longer term sort of thing. Like, when do you imagine this process would begin?
Well, right now, so we minted yesterday. We minted the first makers. It was 110
All
and
right.
sold out. So that was great. And now,
congratulations.
Oh yeah.
and right now, I'm just sorting out the discourse. I'm trying to onboard some moderators and set up the whole thing so that then we can start the process. And as I laid out on my videos, that whole architecture project, from the first part all the way to finalizing the design and then creating the NFT content, that could take an average of 4 to 6 months. But in between that process, there will be sort of smaller drops. Could be a collaboration with another project, something, so that there's still that excitement, there's still that flow going on. I'm still working out the details, and then I'll release sort of the second version of the roadmap. One of these days. I'm also having other businesses. My time is always limited. I'm taking time, essentially.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not a rush. It sometimes it feels like it, but the people that love your project are gonna want to be there, whether it's happening all at once or not. I find that people with an architecture background in this community are all like some of my favorite NFT artists. Like,
there's a lot of us here. It's crazy.
Yeah. It gives you a greater vision. I don't know. Somehow
you have to be pretty thoughtful, I imagine, to be an architect.
I think what it is, Monad from Unsigned Algorithms point this out once. Like, and as like in architecture, like you're trained to like be the guy who knows the guy to go to get something done. And like in NFT space, like that's really like that's everything. I mean,
True.
Yeah, it really is.
I need those connectors.
You're so right. Yeah.
That's really interesting. Makes a lot of sense.
Definitely.
It's a very complex profession, so you need to be good at tons of things, not just design, right? That's why it's not for everyone.
Totally.
I imagine. Yeah. So what about this project would you want someone to know? What
something you would want to be known about the project specifically,
however you want
or to understand
that,
or know.
I guess mainly that the project is very mission driven. So the mission here is to create architecture that can change and improve people's lives. That's it. If you like that, jump in, get a maker, join in the whole thing, because that's where my head is, and that's the only thing I'm gonna sort of focus on mainly. I will never sacrifice out of anything. So that's
I'm ready to jump in, especially after hearing that. I mean, I love that you are empowered to realize, I think sometimes we're all so excited about what this can do, what NFTs and blockchain can do. And sometimes we forget that we can start doing that in smaller ways now. Like, we can start making the possibilities happen in whatever way seems good for what we're doing, So I think that's a great example to be setting. And I look forward to seeing you be able to present these solutions to people.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very it's going to be interesting process because there's so many aspects we need to go through. Like the first thing would be finding that community, finding that organization of people to work with. Once that's said, it's sort of like, okay, these are the people that we're going to impact. It becomes more real. Every step is more real, more understandable. And people will start to understand the concept because I think it's quite new, I guess. And
Yeah.
It definitely is. Yeah,
you have to go with faith,
definitely. What do you like to do to relax or rejuvenate yourself creatively?
Ooh, creatively. Ah, interesting. I guess I like to take a break out of creative processes. So I do something entirely different.
Yeah, you need to.
Meet some friends.
Yeah. So be with people that you care
I'm a
about.
very social person. I'm quite an extrovert. So, and then and like essentially when I create my art, I get so into it that I get very stressed. And it's you're chasing you're trying to catch smoke when you create art because you don't really know it. You try one thing, you try one other thing, doesn't work, and you're like, where am I? So that kind of can get a lot in your mind. So then when I go and do something else, it just relaxes.
Totally. I can get so sucked in, and he will tell me that I should take a break, and I don't want to take a break at all, but when I do, it's like I instantly feel all of that pressure, release. Well, what are some of your favorite projects that are happening in CNFTs right now?
Yeah,
You're vibing.
Right now, I haven't been able to catch up too much on projects.
It's
focusing a lot on them.
It's really hard.
But I definitely I really like growing pains.
Me too. Yeah.
Those two were something that really caught my attention in the past.
What was the second one?
Woodlord.
Oh yes, you definitely remind me of Woodlord.
Yeah, it's definitely been a connection in my mind.
Me too.
I mean, physical
creators in America as well.
It's very cool.
That's awesome. Yeah. I was so sad that I didn't get my Woodlord. They were all sold out when I said I'll have to get one.
Just missed it.
Yeah.
Tough out there sometimes. So when do you have another drop scheduled? What's coming next for the makers?
So I'm still revising the roadmap to add because the architecture project will take a long time. So I'm revising it to add some exciting, smaller little drops, some collabs maybe. But yeah, so currently I'm still sort of going around with it.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to keep our eyes
totally feel that.
Yeah. And please do keep us updated with any big things that happen because we want to
have you back for sure. And we're so excited to see where this goes socially and
artistically. A great start.
Thank you so much, guys. Really.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Awesome,
Well, that takes us right to the end of time. Perfect. Look at us go. All right. Well, thank you again so much for coming on. This was a pleasure. Absolutely.
Keep on making.
Keep on making. Exactly.
There you go.
National Makers Up.
Yeah.